All right, welcome back to the All About RFID series. I'm Kyle Stanford, your RFID Solutions Architect, and we are here today to talk about what's on my tag and how RFID encoding works. We've talked about tags, we've talked about readers, we've talked about antennas, cables, handheld and fixed readers. Now we're going to talk about what I mean when I just keep saying unique ID. It was a cop. I was just trying to keep it simple in the beginning videos. There is a nerd alert about halfway through this video that I will let you know because we're going to get a little nerdy on what's actually encoded on this tag. But starting from the beginning, we're going to crack open the brain of this a little and look at what this actually does, what it's actually beaconing out when I say unique ID, how it gets there, what it might mean, and why it can be a little bit confusing. So encoding, you'll hear me say tag encoding, is simply the idea of writing data to this tag. So it's not just ABC123, but it's something that means something to your software, your in-business system, right? ABC123 is probably not a great asset ID. So here's a visual. It is not magic. A portion of the tag that we call the EPC block, or electronic product code, usually about 96 bits long, is encoded with that data. It stores that data, and when that tag is energized, it beacons that data back out. You heard me say 96 bits. It's not a lot of data if you're a little bit nerdy, so it is a finite space, and yes, that's the part we're going to nerd out about a little bit. So how do you get that data onto that tag? Well, typically what you'll see is you print and encode those tags. Yes, handhelds up there have the ability to encode one tag at a time, but thank God we don't have to do that with RFID because it would be crazy. The amount of tags we print and encode is quite insane sometimes. Out of this lab, we've had customers order 10 and 20,000 tags at a time. Having to encode each one of those individually would not be a lot of fun. So you have a RFID enabled printer. That printer has a roll of tags. It's able to not only encode them, but also print the human readable on them. Some things to watch out there for. Make sure they match. Make sure they encode the proper way, and make sure whatever you're encoding on them actually means something. So now we're going to get to the nerdy section. I hinted at that finite space, right? So tags are encoded in hexadecimal, might look like this, right? So here's your hexadecimal representation of what is on that tag. See 96 bits, which means 12 bytes, which means you can have 24 hex characters. So we've got 24 hex characters. If you wanted something above 0 through 9 and A through F, because hexadecimal is limited to 0 to 9 and A to F, then you'd have to combine each two characters to represent something in ASCII, right? So now you only have 12 characters to put onto that tag. If your unique ID that you want to put on it is longer than 12 characters, then you can't work with a 96-bit tag. You will need something bigger. They make them in 128, 256-bit. They're out there. They have different memory sizes, but the standard tag is going to be 96-bit. Why is that? Because there is a standard out there from GS1 called the SGTIN standard. It falls on a 96-bit tag, and it allows us to take a tag ID that looks like this and separate it up and decode it into something. It's going to give us the company, the product, and the serial. You'll hear, I guarantee when I bring in Kevin to speak, you're going to hear him say serialized each more than once. This is what he means. An old UPC, right? So you have a UPC barcode. That UPC barcode tells you the company and the product, and that's it. It does not tell you the serial number of that particular item. That's why RFID is very powerful. It is allowing us to take what we did with UPC and expand it one more level deep into the serial. Now, spoiler alert, those UPCs are changing in 2027 with Sunrise 2027. They're going to go from a 1D barcode to a 2D barcode, and they will act much like an RFID EPC and give you company, product, and serial within that 2D barcode. It is not here yet. Look at the Coke can on your desk right now. It's still a 1D barcode. So serialized each from an SG10 96 standard. It usually decodes one of those ways. It's either going to be a unique ID or it's going to be the SG10 standard. If you are doing a unique ID, make sure it means something. Make sure you're within your memory limits. Make sure that this is actually translatable through your software. Make sure if you're using hex that you aren't trying to use characters above the letter F, right? That can be a problem. So different limits do exist, like I said. You can get above a 96-bit tag. It's just going to be the most common one out there. So consistency is key, whether it's an asset ID, whether it's an SGTIN, or just a random unique ID that you came up with when you got bored and started incrementing from there. Make sure you do it the same through your whole deployment. Having a mixture of those can wreak havoc on different software providers. Not us, we're good with it. But having a combination of those can be very bad. If you need to follow the standard, follow the standard. All right, some things you want to look at when tag encoding. I got a little checklist for you. Don't encode pre-encoded tags. Take that checklist down. This tag is laser encoded with a human readable ID. I'm not going to re-encode this tag because it is encoded to that human readable ID. If I encode it as something else, this tag might as well be useless because now that doesn't match what's inside of it. Bad idea. All right, back to the checklist. Validate your print jobs. I have personally encoded thousands of tags at a time because we did not validate a print job along the way and waited too long. Now when we print, every 50 to 100 tags, I wave a handheld scanner in front of the tags and make sure that that human readable matches what's encoded on the tag. Know your memory limits, like we talked about. If you have a 96-bit tag, you aren't getting a 30-character unique ID. Think about it before you order tags. Plan your deployment around those memory limits or up the memory limits if you have to. Use the standard if it's needed. If you are in retail, you are going to be using SGTIN. If you want to sell your item in retail, one of the big suppliers out there, one of the big stores out there, they require that you use the standard. Use the standard when needed. When in doubt, use the standard. If you don't know, if you should, just go ahead and use the standard. It will save you trouble down the way. If you have no need to use the standard, you can use a unique ID. When in doubt, use middleware for decoding, right? Don't try to do this all on your own in an Excel spreadsheet. It's awful. There are ways to do it. I've written VBS scripts that do it. Well, I've had AI write VBS scripts, let's be real. But use middleware and it will decode these items properly. There are websites out there you can go type in an SGTIN into the raw EPC, right into the SGTIN. It'll decode everything for you and give you the company product and serial. So in kind of a summary here, what's on your tag? It's not just numbers. Those numbers have to mean something to an in-business system. So when somebody asks you what's on it, hope you can say, well, it's a compliant digital standard started by GS1. It's the SGTIN 96. It gives me the company, the product, and the serial number for each item. And that's why I've encoded that exact thing onto that tag. I hope you can get there. So next up, we're going to go into what affects RFID performance, some of the troubleshooting issues along the way. So stick around for that.